Okay, so we're sort of experiencing a little bit of Marvel fatigue. Phase 4 took us through a lot of twists and turns, and honestly, like MCU's kind of in a weird spot right now. So let's talk about it because there's a number of factors here that contributed to what we could say is maybe the beginning of the decay of the MCU. Is that too much? Is that harsh? Rolling your head tilted a little bit.
Uh, I don't know if decay is the more sour. I think that's probably the better thing.
Okay.
But I do completely understand and somewhat agree with what you're saying, Andrew. I hate to say it,
Oh man.
but yeah, there's a total fatigue. There's, we're seeing all these new titles, but it's just kind of like, oh, okay, cool. Like there's no real excitement, like you guys are saying. It's just kind of like a fact of the matter. And it's almost just kind of disheartening because you're like, oh wow, these comics were like a big arc and it took years and they're just gonna do one movie off of it. And it'll come and pass, honestly.
Yeah. What? So I mean, let's first talk about like there's sort of a Disney Plus problem here, right?
Hmm.
What we're kind of oversaturated. We're getting a lot of content. It's you know what's what is the problem with it being on Disney Plus right now? Is it too accessible? Is it just Disney taking over the brand? Why is that sort of changing the direction of what we're familiar with the MCU? Because
I
it's
mean,
changed flavors a bit. Yeah.
I'll take that one real quick here. I'll okay, let me just point this out. So we have talked about earlier in the show, if you haven't seen the full show and if you're just checking this video out on its own, do go back and watch our open mic segment. But basically what we talked about, and if you've been following San Diego Comic Con, phase four is what we're with right now, then there's phase 5 and 6 is where we are headed. The problem that I think or the example that perfectly illustrates the Disney Plus problem is this. Half of their projects now are Disney Plus. So like they literally for almost every movie they're putting out a Disney Plus show. Not only that, but phases 1, 2, 3 used to take like 3 or 4 years to go through. Now I think phase 4 is gonna take probably 2 or 3 years, but phase 5 is gonna take a year and a half, if that. And then phase 6 is meant to be like 2 years. So they're going through content so quickly. It's almost like so by the time we got to phase 2, Iron Man's trilogy was done, and by the time we got to phase 3, Captain America's trilogy was done. Right now, like what is it? Give me a character. Shang-Chi's not gonna have more than one movie by the time we get through like phase 5, and then maybe he gets a sequel by the time we get to phase 6. It's like we're getting
Yeah.
a lot more characters, but because they're just throwing everything at you all at once, there's not enough
Yeah.
time to sit with each one.
And like everybody knew Spider-Man. Spider-Man was always a very popular character, one of the best-selling comic books I think of all time, and a character whose movies always did well, no matter who was playing him. Now we're getting into this age of really obscure, like you have to go deep into Marvel mythology to know who these people are. We've turned everybody sort of into a comic book nerd, comic book expert to say like, yeah, everything's interrelated. We know all of these characters. This is how they're related, and now we've got a lot of content, and it's coming at us pretty fast. Is it too much? Is it too fast?
Yes.
Okay. Why?
Because it's not giving anybody any time to sit with anything, any character or like, it's like with the other ones with the slow progress and you had time to be excited to wait for a new one. You're like the anticipation was because it could take a while because it wasn't like, oh well, we just finished like Miss Marvel, but now we have this other one like right away that we can just watch immediately. Before it was just like you
Yeah.
had to wait in between each thing, and it was a really nice slow build up, and you'd have to sit with it, talk about it with people, maybe do some research on it, get more
And I
into
think
it.
we got to form a relationship with the characters.
Yeah.
It didn't matter which Spider-Man trilogy. There are only two of the second one, but which Spider-Man series you were watching, you were attached to Peter Parker, no matter who was playing him.
Right.
And the space in between those, he wasn't appearing in other movies doing other
Right.
stuff. It was, hey, I wonder what Peter Parker's been up to, and then
Right.
you'd see the next movie, and there was enough time in between each for you to fill in the gaps and appreciate the time. And there was time that had elapsed in the movies themselves.
Right. And every character now is just a pawn for the next big thing. I mean, we've already said this before, but it's
Sure.
just like you're not meant to really care about them long term. It's just like this is just a stepping stone to get you closer to I mean, there is no end goal. I don't see them wanting to have an end goal. It's just like this not even an idea, but like an imaginary end goal, because it's like that's what we're all waiting for, right? Is like a build up to something that they don't really want to happen. They don't want to end it.
I thought Endgame was the
That's
end
what
game.
everybody did. It's
And
like
yeah, it kept going. We're in overtime now.
yeah.
That's what they should call it, not Phase 5. It's overtime.
Overtime.
Dan, we lost you. We can't hear your sound.
Sorry, I muted myself. I was just gonna say, can you imagine just Kevin Feige just like there should be a meme somewhere, like just seems celebrating, like holy crap, can you believe it? We made it this far. This is just gravy from here, baby. Like we're just
It's nuts.
and do whatever,
Yeah.
you know. I'm sure he's not doing that, but I mean it's sometimes it feels like that sometimes.
Yeah.
I think there's a plan. I don't know. I mean, I know we're trying to get into the whole multiverse thing. I mean, that's what we're seeing a lot with Phase 4. They keep bringing that up as much as they can. And I know they're trying to bring Kang into it. I don't know where they're going, because they're also in the lineup. They have a lot of interesting storylines that they're just kind of making, it seems like, passable movies. So I don't know where this is going. I don't
Well,
know.
it's hard too, because
The
it's like I
multiverse
think
saga.
Yeah.
their original plan was slowly introducing all these characters to lead up to Infinity Wars and Endgame, because that was a huge deal. And so
There was
they
a
set up a
reason.
plan. Right.
There was a reason for all of all
Right.
of these superheroes to be in the same movie. There's an Infinity War. We need all the help we can
Right.
get.
And
Now
they were
it's just
hinting to it.
passing by.
They were hinting to everything, and now it's like each movie is hinting to its own potential thing that's coming in the future, but it's not really tying together completely. I mean, maybe I'm wrong and I'm not seeing it, but it just
That's a really
feels
good
that
point.
way.
Because, like, for example, I mean, you know, Doctor Strange's post-credit scene is sort of hinting at whatever's going to go happen next with his character. And the other thing is this: it's not just the fact that they're hinting at their own, like, whatever's coming, with whatever's going to happen next with that character. Because the first Doctor Strange movie hinted at some kind of conflict with Mordo, which was never delivered upon. But like in the past, I think Marvel's post-credit scenes have evolved from hinting at what's going on in the overall universe and coming up next. Like, for example, what was it? I think was it Black Panther? No, it wasn't Black Panther. It was, I think, Civil War. It was one of those, or the Winter Soldier or Guardians of the Galaxy. It might have been one of those movies where the post-credit scene was Sam Wilson and Cap like coming together and saying, all right, we're going to go find the Winter Soldier. Like there was that little scene, and then, you know, the Civil War was all about doing that. Like, and then there was a scene, but like it went from those kind of scenes which directly tied into what was coming next, and it didn't have to be like a direct sequel to the movie you just watched, to now they're hinting at what maybe something that will happen or not happen with that character or overall in the MCU. Like, for all I know, the Eternals post-credit scenes where we see Harry Styles come in as whatever character, the Thanos' brother, I don't know what his name is. I don't know if we're ever going to get a payoff to that post-credit scene. Like, and I feel like now people are starting to feel that more and more.
Yeah.
It's almost like every Marvel post-credit scene or every Marvel movie show is the market research for the next thing. You know, and they see how things test. And that's really, maybe that's the issue here, is that everything sort of feels, rather than being market tested and given to us, now they're skipping through that entirely, and they're just saying, let's see how this tests if we put it out in the market right away without asking people what they care about or what they're
Right.
interested in.
And it's
so,
hard. Go ahead.
Well, that's why, you know, they've sort of lost sight of their brand, because it used to be characters you love, stories you want, you know, and heroes you want to root for. And
Right.
now it's just, well, let's find something else that they might like. Maybe here's
Right. It had
And-
an end goal. There was a reason behind everything, and now it's the end goal is there is no end goal. They don't want an end goal. It's like a soap
Yeah.
opera.
It should
It's just
never
they
end.
want it to go forever. Yeah. They'll bring back maybe
It-
some dead characters.
It is
Oh my
like a
God,
soap
that
opera.
is
It is
perfect. I
absolutely
love
like
that.
a soap
Yeah.
opera.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
hilarious. We're in season 15 of All My Heroes.
I love that. That's so good.
The days of our super lives.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yes.
So with that, have we lost sight of of particular heroes that like were either blockbusters or like heavy hitters? Are we missing the gravitas of certain characters, certain heroes?
I think so.
Go
Yeah. I was just gonna make, and I'll keep this quick, but basically, my biggest concern is, and this is something Kevin Feige should have done a better job with, because he's on all other fronts has done a fantastic job. Obviously, 30 movies in, these are still making billions of dollars. But
Yeah.
Captain America and Iron Man, or in the order, Iron Man and Captain America, were the two cornerstones of this movie franchise.
Yep.
And there really hasn't been anybody else since who has taken up that mantle. And maybe T'Challa as Black Panther was going to be that, and obviously, unfortunately, Chadwick Boseman passed away, and then they made the decision not to recast the character, but rather just write him off. And we saw the trailer now. I mean, you know, it looks like they're going to move on. But they haven't really found somebody else who's like, you can look at the first Iron Man movie that started the whole thing, and take it all the way to Endgame, and it starts with Iron Man saying literally I'm Iron Man, to him literally saying I'm Iron Man. And even the movies that he is not in, he's connected somehow narratively by mentioning
like,
him,
yeah,
like what he's doing has
showing his
consequences and
technology.
options. Exactly. I mean, and even Captain America, it was like sort of like Captain America and Iron Man were two sides of the coin, and every time you flip the coin, the MCU just revolved around like the dynamic between those two characters. And since Endgame, I feel like, you know, both of those characters exiting, we sort of are missing those, not only leaders on screen and characters that people can latch onto, but in a new era when you're going beyond and introducing all these new characters, I feel like now we only have like 4 left to lead. Like, he's the only OG that makes you feel like at home in the MCU, but everybody else is like,
And-
it's new ground.
I was gonna say, like, Thor could be an option, but they keep just making him like the
A
comic
joke.
relief. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's like
Yeah.
it's for entertainment purposes. It can be funny, but it's like, why doesn't he get any more character development? He's just kind of around just to laugh at, and that's it. Like, and I love Thor. He can be funny and have character development.
Yeah.
Give him something. Give him something
Yeah.
to do. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Well, I mean, in addition to the idea that they're just sort of testing us to see, like, will this character work? Will this character work? We had that John Krasinski cameo
Yeah.
in what is it, Multiverse of Madness, and
Yeah.
this has sort of become the strategy. It's like, maybe if we get this actor here for 2 seconds, we'll get some internet buzz, and maybe that'll generate some buzz and excitement for the next project. Everything seems to just be a little trick for marketing, trying to get us to talk about it. And here we are talking about it.
Me too.
Yeah, there's an over reliance on cameos, and that was one of the things that you loved about the MCU back in the day. Like, they always put the story and the characters first, and then they let each character kind of breathe, and it felt like the people watching and investing their time and money into this franchise were being rewarded by, you know, living in the world that the characters live in. Nowadays,
Yeah.
it feels like they just need to put pieces on the board, and this is a game of chess, and
Yep.
right now we're in a phase where Kevin Feige is just like, Miss Marvel, Moon Knight, Blade. Oh, Daredevil came back. Boom. Like, and then, oh, Secret Invasion, Armor Wars. Like, and then like the pieces will begin moving, but it feels like it's lacking that heart. It's lacking that.
Yeah. Well, how much could
Yeah.
how much could these actors care? Robert Downey Jr. He was committed. People like he was in it for the long haul. He was Iron Man. That was great. When you're John Krasinski and you show up for 3 minutes in an alternate universe playing Reed Richards, and it's, I'm just here to be Reed Richards real fast. All right, thanks, bye. And we don't know if we'll ever see him again. It was a short day of filming for him, and he's gone. How much could he really be invested in this?
Yeah.
I'll just sum up my feeling about like those cameos and heavily leaning into even like the entirety of that Spider-Man No Way Home was nostalgia, but I just think if you think back to that Jeff Goldblum line, what's his name in the Jurassic Park movies, Doctor something,
Ian Malcolm.
Ian Malcolm, like we were so wrapped up in what we could do, we just forgot to ask the question. Well, what is the line?
Yeah.
Like I forget.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Then.
Like
So concerned with whether or not you could, you didn't stop to think if you should.
exactly.
Like
I
that.
feel like that's the question the MCU needs to be asking themselves, and Kevin Feige needs to be asking like himself and the Marvel parliament of writers that he's got now in the writers' room, because it's not that even if you did a great job, it's not whether you could, it's whether maybe you should. Yeah, it's that. I just that's a good way
that's a
to
good
summarize
point.
it.
That is
That
such
was
a good point.
beautifully said.
Yeah.
On that note, what do you think? Have we reached the phase of Marvel fatigue? Have we reached Marvel fatigue? Are we just in overtime? Has it gotten old? Let us know what you think in the comments. Subscribe, like, engage. We can pontificate all day, but really it means nothing if we don't hear from you guys. So get involved and join our movie fan community.